Oh, they are like snap questions.
Okay, who wants to go? You want to go one at a time, like one person?
Me.
Okay, go, Allie.
Like, what was your childhood like?
My childhood like? Well, I grew up during the Depression, and my dad, I was born in Indiana, and we lived in Indiana part of my lifetime when I was a child, but part of the time we went to Tennessee and lived with my grandpa because he had a small farm. And my dad built a small house on his farm, and we lived there during the early 30s, 1930s. That was when everyone was out of work and things were hard, money was hard to come by. So we lived there, and then we moved back to Indiana, and so my childhood was spent between Indiana and Tennessee. So what else do you want to know about it?
What kinds of games did you play when you were a kid?
Oh, when we were a kid, we played a lot of hide and go seek. We played kick the can, and we played ball. And let me think.
Like what
jump
kind
rope.
of? Like what kind of ball? Like throwing the ball, kicking the ball.
Softball or kickball. We played a lot of kickball where we would run the bases, but we would kick the ball, which was a big ball. Do you know what that is? It looks sort of like a basketball, except it was...
Yeah, I played kickball before.
That was the main thing we played. Played a lot of paper dolls. And, I don't know. We climbed a lot of trees. I grew up with my dad's younger brothers, and they were, of course, tomboys, and we would climb trees and do all kinds. I did things that the boys did.
Did you have lots of friends back then?
Did I have a lot of what?
A lot of friends.
When I was in school, I did, but when I was home, there were not many children around my grandpa's farm. There was one other girl that was my age that lived down the road. But mostly my friends were my dad's younger brothers, who were a little older than I. One was 3 years older and one was 5 years older, but we played together.
Could you name any of your friends?
Did I what?
Could you name any of your friends?
Name? Oh, let me think. There was Alice Purdy. She was my best friend during school. And there was, when I lived on the farm, it was Marie Hoffman that lived down the road from me. And, I can't remember. I know some of the girls that I went to school with, but I don't see them anymore.
What were your parents like?
Oh, they were very relaxed. I can't ever remember getting into trouble with them or getting spanked. We just more or less did what we wanted to do. But I was the oldest of 6 children when I was home, and I had to take care of the younger ones. So I had to work a lot.
Were they strict at all?
Oh, to a certain extent, but more or less we just played and did what we wanted to, because things were safer back then. You didn't have to worry about riding your bicycle down the road and getting picked up or something, because there was no crime at all in that area that I grew up in. Everyone looked out for everyone else. And
back then, what would you wear? Do you think it's much different than you wear now?
Yes, my mom made most of my clothes. As I remember, a lot of them were pink broadcloth, which is a type of material. And Mom didn't have a lot of patterns. Most of them were the same. I'd have a new dress, and then the next time I got a new dress, it might be a different color, but it was made the same way.
Like just plain, or?
Well, it had pleats in it, and maybe a belt, and they were pretty. I was always real glad to get a new dress, but we didn't have near the amount of clothes that you have. And we would change when we got home from school to save our school clothes and put on play clothes.
Where did you live and what was your house like?
Well, it was smaller than most houses now, but there were 6 children, usually 2 or 3 bedrooms and a living room, dining room, and kitchen. And we had an upstairs. When I lived with my grandpa and grandma, they had a big upstairs, and it was just one big room and with several beds in it. And the downstairs had, I think, 3 bedrooms, and it was small with the amount of people that lived in it.
Did you always want to be an artist?
I always liked to draw. I always loved nature. I spent a lot of times in the woods. And one time I found something hanging from a tree, and I'd never seen it before. And I ran back to the house, and I got a shoebox, and I went back into the woods, and I knocked it down in the shoebox and put a lid on it and took it home to show my mom, and it was a bat. So Mom made me take it out and let it go. And one time my dad was a woodsman. He cut down trees for timber. That was his job. He worked with my grandpa. And one time he cut down a tree, and it had a baby, it was a bird of some sort. A crow. It was a baby crow. And he brought the crow home to me, and we fed it oatmeal. And it grew up, and it would come to us when we called it. And finally one day it flew away and never came back.
Be free, my birdie. Be free, my birdie.
Yeah.
Did you go to school as often as we do now? And just
And then we had longer summers.
We go 180 days, and we go 5 days a week, 6
No,
hours a week.
usually we would start in right after Labor Day, which is in September, maybe the 5th of September or so, and we would get out Labor Day, or Memorial Day, which is in May. And we'd have a week vacation at Christmas time and a week at spring break.
How did you know that this is how to be an artist, that you have to do this?
Oh, just practicing. I took a couple of art classes after I grew up. I took one at Jimtown High School, and I took another at, let's see, I think the Career Center.
What is your favorite childhood memory?
Oh, let's see. I guess going to visit my grandma and grandpa after we moved away. That was always fun. And we did that every vacation that we had, because they stayed in Tennessee and we moved back to Indiana.
Did you believe in ghosts, and do you still now?
Do I believe in ghosts? I've never seen it.
And
I used to be afraid when they tell ghost stories, but I've never seen a ghost, so I would really have to see one to believe it.
well, did you think ghosts were real back when you were a kid?
I guess I did, because if we told ghost stories, I'd be afraid to go to bed.
How did you get to school in places like that when you were a
We
kid?
walked.
Walked.
I never rode a school bus my whole life.
What was your favorite animal back then?
Oh, a dog, I guess.
What was your favorite sport?
Playing ball, baseball, and I like basketball. I played some basketball when I was in high school.
Hold on.
Do you have anything left?
Oh, I missed one. Did you ever go on any family vacations?
Only to visit my grandparents. When I was a kid, after I got married, we went on vacations about every year when my kids were little.
What was your favorite thing to do?
My favorite thing to do, I think play in the woods, go camping. Well, we didn't go camping when I was a child, but I would go play in the woods. There was a woods right across the road from my grandpa's farm. I'd go over there and play in the woods, pick flowers and pick berries, and I like to go berry picking with my grandma.
What do you do around the house when you had to do like chores and stuff?
Oh, I would sweep, take care of the younger children, do dishes, help with the laundry. And I would work in the garden.
Okay, awesome.
Are you done?
Oh, what was your school like?
I went to, when I was in Tennessee, I went to a one-room school, and there were 8 grades in it, 1 teacher, and the older children would help with the younger ones. And we had a big blackboard, and most of the math or arithmetic was taught on that blackboard. And I don't remember too much about it, but then when I went in Indiana, of course, we had a room for every grade. I went to several schools in Indiana. I went to Hawthorne, I went to Middlebury, and I went to Roosevelt, and I went to Beardsley, which is where the Beardsley Park is, down here where your kids go to the park. There was a school there. I went to there when I was a child. I lived on, let's see, where did I live? I guess I lived on Strong Avenue.
Did you have like a favorite person, your grandma, your grandpa, your parents?
Yeah, I had my grandma, and then my youngest uncle Virgil was my favorite. He was 3 years older than I, and we walked to school together, and he taught me to shoot a rifle, and one time we went hunting together. It was during the Depression, and they ate a lot of game meat that they killed, and we went hunting for rabbits, and he took me with him. And a rabbit ran into a stump and hid, and he took a stick and stuck it in the hole in the stump and twisted it into the rabbit's fur and pulled the rabbit out, and I started crying, and I wouldn't let him kill it, so he had to turn it loose. So we didn't have any meat that night for supper. And he was mad at me for making him turn the rabbit loose. But I couldn't stand the thought of him killing that rabbit. But that was just something they did. They didn't do it to be mean. They did it to put food on the table, because we didn't have grocery stores where you would go down and buy a roast, and the grocery stores were far apart, and you more or less cooked what you raised on the farm, on pork or beef, and then the game that the men would kill, and so that's how we put food on the table. Gardens, and Grandma Ritchie had a orchard. She raised peaches and apples. We had a lot of blackberries we would pick in the summertime, and that was the food we ate. She had chickens. We'd eat chicken and eggs, and they'd raise pigs, and they would kill pigs in the fall and hang the hams in the smokehouse and smoke them, or put them down in salt. That would cure the meat. We didn't have a freezer. We didn't have a refrigerator. The food was kept cold in a well, which is water that we dipped out with a bucket. You'd put it down on it was on a rope, and a thing that wound up on the rope, and you'd turn the handle and lower the pail into the water and pull it up. That was our water. And the butter and the eggs and stuff that we kept cold, we'd put in another pail and lower it down into the water to keep it cold. And so you wasn't able to keep food from well, you could keep it from lunch till supper, but you couldn't keep it any longer than that, or it would spoil because it was hot.
What did you call your grandma and grandpa? Like, we call you Ba.
I call them Grandma and Papa. My grandpa called Papa.
Did you have any, did you say like Grandma Richie or?
No, just Grandma. I only had one. My other grandma had died before I was born. I never knew her. So I only had one grandma.
That's all the questions I have.
Oh, okay. We wrote each of us kids after Mom and Dad died wrote a story. You might want to read that sometime. That tells about my childhood a lot. About the same as I told here, but you don't have a copy of it, but I do if you ever want to read it.
That's August 2nd, 2012.